While you wait, if you would like to let us know how you're doing today, then please log into Menti. I have actually put a link in the chat if you'd like to click on that, as well as a QR code that you could scan with your phone. And let us know how you're feeling today. It's Wednesday, middle of the week. It's another crazy week. But how are you doing and how are you feeling? Let us know. And of course, Menti is completely confidential. Nobody can see who's added what comments, so you're very welcome to share how you're feeling. Would be lovely to connect with you. All right, and then in terms of time, we're going to get going in 2 minutes. Thank you. Oh, there we go. Some feelings coming through. Somebody's happy. That's always wonderful to hear. Somebody's feeling good. And unfortunately, somebody's feeling tired. I can certainly relate, I think, to all of those feelings. I'm a bit of a mix of all of them today. Have been struggling a little bit with the flu, so feeling tired, but I am in a good space other than that. And somebody coming through saying they are feeling frustrated. I'm sorry to hear that. I do hope some of the tips we share about self-care today might help you feel a little bit less frustrated. And hopefully you can find a solution to whatever it is that is frustrating you at the moment. All right, keep telling us how you're doing. We love to hear from you. It's always wonderful to connect. So please let us know how you are. All right, are we on the hour, Pumla?
Yes, we are.
Oh, all right. I think for the sake of time, let's get going. We've got quite a nice group here with us today. And yeah, let's get going on this topic. I think this is a wonderful session to be having.
Definitely. A warm welcome to everyone and thank you so much for joining us. My name is Pumla. I am the marketing coordinator at AOI. And for today's Wisdom Wednesday, we're talking about learning how to supercharge your studies with self care. You are most welcome. I am your co host, and your host for today is Carol Fenter. Carol is an experienced leader, social worker, and EWP specialist. Carol is passionate about helping people to reach their full potential and education and awareness about mental health issues such as addiction, burnout, and stress. She believes that tackling the issue of stigma around this issue will create a safer space for individuals to reach out for help when they need it. And I believe we can also call her a specialist when it comes to our Wisdom Wednesdays. Thank you so much for joining us, Carol, and over to you.
Thank you, Pumla. Thank you so much. Yes, it's wonderful to host the Wisdom Wednesdays. I love being your host. Some of you might recognize me as well from the study circles that we do together for Academy of York. And I really love having this opportunity to get together with everybody. It's so important to invest in yourselves. And this 1 hour that you carve out of a busy day and a busy week and a busy month is definitely so worth it because you are worth it. Right, so as Pumla shared with you, today's topic is really learning how to supercharge your studies with self-care. Self-care is something I'm really passionate about. I believe strongly in the need for us to take care of ourselves. And yeah, I may not be perfect myself. It's something that I need to practice and remind myself every day. But I really do hope that some of the thoughts I share with you today, some of those tips that I'm going to share, will be something that you can take away and that you can use, because I can promise you that if you can incorporate some self-care, you're going to find that not only will your studies start to, supercharge and blossom, but every area of your life will be positively impacted on just by taking a little bit more care of yourself. Right, so let's just see anything else coming through in terms of how you're feeling, please. We are using Menti today to interact, but we do have the chat and the Q&A section as well. So feel free to connect with me and with Pumla. Menti is an anonymous platform. And if you have a look, we have put the link into the chat. We've also put the QR code, which you can just scan with your phone and it will open up. So I'm going to pose a few questions to you as we go along today, and I'd love to hear from you. Nobody else can see who's sharing the comments. It's just going to pop up on our screen as you're seeing right now. So somebody else says they're feeling amazing, and we've got good coming through twice there. Yay, that's wonderful to hear. And I'm hoping you're going to feel even better after today's session. Right, so you've heard who I am, you've met Pumla as well. Wonderful to be here with you. And let's look then at today's topic, which is supercharge your studies with self-care. Even if you're not studying, of course, today's session will be really, really helpful, but we're hoping it's going to encourage you to see that you should register for that course and that it is time to take the leap and to study, because you can certainly fit it all in. And some of the self-care that I'll share with you will help you understand that. So we're going to look at what self-care is, why it's important, how it can help lower your stress levels and help you build resilience. We're going to look at the different dimensions of wellness, and then I want to share a few tips with you in every one of those dimensions, and those are self-care tips that you could consider taking on to help you look after yourselves in every aspect of your life. And then knowing that self-care can make us feel a little bit guilty because it does take time away from work, from studies, maybe from sometimes from your loved ones as well, and you might end up feeling guilty about it. I want to help you to let go of that guilt, because guilt is not helpful. And it certainly isn't something that you should feel when you are taking care of yourself and prioritizing yourself. And at the end, I'm going to try my best to leave a little time for a Q&A. If you'd like to connect with me, or if you would like to connect with Pumla with any questions around Academy of York, then of course, we certainly are here to help you. Right, so I'm not sure if this Menti will work. Let's give it a try. As we go along, you're welcome to log in and to give, some of your thoughts. But I do wonder, what does self-care mean to you? So with everything I've already said today, what have you been thinking? What does self-care mean to you? When I say take care of yourself, are you imagining some sort of, medical care? Are you imagining going to the doctor, having your flu sorted out? What are you thinking about when I say self-care? What does it mean to you? Please feel free to share with us if you are able to scan the QR code or join in via the link. I'll maybe come back a little bit later and see if anybody has shared their thoughts. And now, of course, my slides don't want to move. Wonderful. Okay, let's try that again. I'm going to quickly, if you don't mind, just stop sharing, because I think when I clicked on that Menti, as luck would have it, it froze my PowerPoint. So let's try that again. Okay. You've got to love technology and sometimes what it does to us. All right. So maybe this is what you think of when I say self-care. This is certainly something that comes to my mind. Maybe it's because it is something I very frequently dream about, but it just isn't a reality for me right now. Maybe that beautiful spa experience, whether you're male or female. I mean, men love their massages as much as us ladies do, but we very often think of this when we think of self-care, right? Going for that time out where they put on that lovely fluffy white gown and those little white fluffy slippers. You get treated like royalty. You get ushered through to this lovely room where the lighting is just right. There's lovely smells of aromatherapy coming through, and you get that wonderful massage, whether it's on your back or at your feet, whatever you might be wanting, or some sort of a retreat where you get to engage in maybe a little bit of meditation and things like that. And certainly, yes, this is self-care for some of us, but it can be pricey self-care. And I really want you to remember that that is not the only thing that self-care is. Absolutely not. But self-care is also not selfish. So that's where I'm going to come in later with the guilt and why you need to let go of any guilt that you have around taking care of yourself. It's not something that you have to learn. Yes, you might have to learn what works best for you. You might have to learn what, sort of fills your cup and makes you feel good and, what works. Not all of us love exercise, for example. And it's not something that takes a lot of resources. It's not something you need to spend money on. Sure, if you have the money and you can and you want to book in for that massage, of course, wonderful. But there are so many other self-care activities and actions that you can take that may not even cost you a cent. And it doesn't need to take a lot of your time resources as well. I know time is of the essence, especially when you're trying to study, you're trying to work, you're trying to juggle so many different roles and responsibilities and fit it all into the day. But self-care can be just little bits of time that you carve out for yourself as well. It doesn't have to be big and lavish. It's not about that big shopping spree. It's not about something with a big price tag on it. It can be, again, but it's not. There's so many other things. And it's not once off. You can't just like decide, okay, well, gosh, I better take care of myself. I'm going to do it today. And then I think I'm going to be okay for the next couple of months. Self-care has to be things that you do every day that helps you to fill your cup and helps you to take care of yourself and to restore your energy. So what is it really then? So firstly, it's a conscious act, all right? It's something that you consciously do that helps you to promote your own physical, mental, and emotional health, all right? So it can be in any one of those spheres of your life. Physically, so it's not just all about exercising. Mentally, it's how you take care of your emotions, and how you take care of your stress levels and so forth. And even, helping you to engage better in some of the relationships that you have in your life. It's intentional and it's purposeful. And it's strategies that you use that will support every aspect of your life. And that's where I'm going to share those dimensions with you. And self-care is a sustainable and helpful tool for survival, okay? Because if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not sustaining that behavior, if you're not doing things regularly to take care of yourself, what is going to happen is that you're probably going to burn out. And that's when we suddenly realize, oh my goodness, I haven't been taking care of myself. I need to manage my time better. I need to take care of myself physically. I need to look after my emotions because I haven't been in a good space. But you don't have to wait till you get to that point where you suddenly, realize you need to engage in some sort of activities to take care of yourself. So why is self-care so important? Well, self-care acts as a protective shield from life and its stresses. If you are taking care of yourself in every aspect of your life, it's almost like you could imagine putting up this armor, this protective shield. So no matter what life throws at you, you're feeling strong enough and you have enough energy to be able to manage those stresses. And let's be honest, stress is part of everyday life. I don't think that there's any of us here who can say that they don't have stress, right? Certainly not. You might be in your dream job. You might be lucky enough to be working from home and having that sort of flexibility. You might be really focused on your studies right now, and maybe you're still looking for a job, or you've put work on hold for a while. Doesn't matter. Stress is a daily companion for all of us. It's not necessarily a friend, but it is definitely a companion that we are all too familiar with. So self-care helps to reset us and to recharge us. I'm going to share more later. And it also allows time for us to process our thoughts and our feelings. Not sure about you, but I kind of feel that life has become a little bit of a hamster wheel. So I'm sure you can, imagine, or you've seen a hamster running on a wheel. The wheel is stuck in one place and the hamster's just running and it's going round and round and round, but the hamster's not actually getting anywhere, right? And that is how life feels for many of us a lot of the time. I mean, we wake up on a Monday morning and we can't believe it's Monday and the weekend is gone. And we are already longing for Friday, but we have such a busy week ahead of us. And then we blink and it's Friday and we think, goodness me, where did the week go? And that's because we are so busy being busy all the time. We, again, juggling so many balls and trying to balance so many different responsibilities in our lives. So it's very hard to process our thoughts and to connect with our feelings sometimes. And I'm going to share with you as we go along why that's so important to take that time out to do that. Self-care also allows us to take time out of this busyness so we can just connect with ourselves. You know, we when we're busy, it's very easy to disconnect from people around us. You know, they're there, we're having conversations with them, but we're not really connecting in a meaningful way or even hearing what they're saying half the time or processing what they're saying. And in the same way, we don't take that time out to connect with ourselves, to check in with ourselves. You know, where am I right now? How am I feeling right now? Am I taking care of myself as I should right now? We don't take the time to do that and to check in with ourselves. And self-care reduces symptoms of stress, anxiety, and depression, which I'll share with you in the next slide. It helps us to be more productive and more focused, which might sound strange because I'm telling you, you need to take some time out to intentionally do self-care and engage in self-care. So you're taking time away of maybe something else that you need to do. But the wonderful thing about self-care is that it charges your personal battery, you know, that it refuels you so that you have that energy to focus on what you need to do and get done what you need to do. And you're probably going to find that you might even do it a little bit quicker because you have that motivation and that energy to get it done. And here's something that's really important to hold in mind. If you don't practice meaningful self-care, and you don't find ways to recharge your battery and to self-soothe, which means to make yourself feel better when you're having a rough time, you are at risk of finding unhealthy ways to do it. We're just wired that way. Our brain is wired that way. We don't like to feel negative emotions. We don't like to feel any sort of discomfort, even emotional discomfort. And our brain is wired to look out for that discomfort, to look out for even emotional pain and, of course, physical pain, because our brain's main job is for us to survive. So, as soon as we are having a really rough time, let's say we've gone through something, you know, that's really difficult and that has knocked us a bit, we are going to look for other ways to feel better. So if you don't have those healthy ways, you know, to lift you up, to help you to feel good again, to process and deal with those negative emotions, for example, your brain is going to find unhealthy ways to do that. It could be things like some bad habits that you might have formed along the way. You know, it could be procrastination, just avoiding things. It could be emotional eating. For some people, it's sleeping too much. You know, they want to just hide away and run away from everything. So they find themselves sleeping for, you know, unnecessarily long times or going and having regular naps just to escape. For some people, certainly in my line of work, it becomes things like drinking too much alcohol or using other substances and medication to self-medicate and to self-soothe because a person wants to feel better. So many reasons why self-care is important for you. So how does self-care lower stress? And how does it build your resilience? Your resilience is your ability to bounce back. So I want you to imagine, you know, a rubber ball, let's say even a tennis ball, and you know, you throw that ball down on the ground, it hits the ground, but it bounces back up and it carries on bouncing. And that's kind of a bit of a metaphor for life, right? Because life knocks us down a lot. We have bad days, we go through difficult things, it knocks us down. But that resilience is the ability, like the ball, just to bounce back up. Doesn't mean we don't experience those dips and those bad times or those stresses, but it does mean that when they happen, we can face them, we can lift ourselves up again, and we can bounce back. All right, get back into life, get back into reality, face what we need to face, deal what we need to deal with, feel what we need to feel, but we can keep going. So each time you engage in an intentional activity to take care of yourself, you release feel-good hormones in your brain. And dopamine is the main one. Dopamine is our feel-good hormone. So as soon as you do something that you like, and I'm going to ask you just now to share with me what are some of the things that you like doing that is your self-care that you engage in. And I'll share from my side at the moment. There are a few things that I do to reward myself and to try intentionally take care of myself. One of the things is that I actually do like exercise. And when I go to the gym or I go for a walk, it definitely releases that happy hormone. As soon as I start engaging in exercise, I start to feel better, my mood lifts. And when I get home back to my family, even if I've had a really rough day, I'm in a different space. I'm energized, and I definitely am in a better mood, and I can deal with whatever life, has to offer. And that is because of the dopamine that's been released in my brain from exercising, because it is something that I find rewarding and something that I enjoy. Then also what happens is your cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone. As soon as you're exposed to something that's stressful, what happens is your cortisol is released in your body. That stress hormone is released in your body, as does adrenaline. Okay, and cortisol and adrenaline are really important. Imagine when you are faced with something that's dangerous. And let's go back to when we were once cavemen, right? And we were living out in the wild and fighting for our survival. We'd come across, let's say, a saber-toothed lion, and immediately our cortisol levels and our adrenaline would rise because we need to either run away from this saber-toothed lion or tiger, whatever it might be, or we need to fight it for survival. So even today in the modern world where we don't have tigers and lions walking around putting our lives at risk, we encounter things every day that cause us stress. Even when my presentation froze now, even though I didn't feel the stress, what would have happened biologically is my adrenaline and my cortisol levels would have gone up because I was faced with the stress that I quickly needed to resolve. So anytime you face even the smallest little challenge, or you're under stress because you have an assignment due, or you have a looming deadline, or you get a nasty phone call that really upsets you, that cortisol and those adrenaline levels will go up. But as soon as we're releasing dopamine and we're engaging in self-care, those levels start to drop. It improves our state of mind, it improves our mood and our overall well-being, because cortisol and adrenaline flooding through your veins all the time is not a good thing. It has a long-term impact on your physical and your mental health. So we've got to keep those levels down. And then intentional and consistent actions become healthy habits over time. So at first, you might really need to put time aside, and you might need to really intentionally and consciously engage in self-care. You might need to plan to go for a walk. You might need to, really think of those other things you need to do. Take a break, go have a cup of coffee, sit outside, get some fresh air. Do it very intentionally. But the more you practice it, the more that just becomes healthy habits. And going back to what I was sharing with you earlier, as soon as you do encounter something negative, some negative emotions, maybe just having a really bad day, your brain is now automatically going to turn to those healthy habits to help you feel better and to help you cope, rather than that negative habit that you had. So instead of craving junk food when I'm stressed, if I've been exercising regularly, my brain's going to trigger to me that I want to go exercise, because my brain knows that that's what releases that dopamine for me, and that's what helps me to feel better. Then taking time out to connect, recharge, and to reset ourselves helps to keep your resilience levels up so that it becomes easier to bounce back. All right, so the more energy you have, the more you feel that you're thriving and that you're in control of life, and that you're not just, a victim to your circumstances and all the crazy stress that you have around you at the time, the easier it is to face whatever comes your way. Think of the last time you had a really bad day. Maybe you just woke up, as we like to sometimes say, on the wrong side of the bed, and everything seemed to go wrong. You were just in such a bad mood. Everything goes wrong. Suddenly, gosh, I could tell you so many stories that are coming to my mind of days like that. And you wonder, what is going on? Why is it like this? And no matter what happens, it just knocks you more and more and more, and you just feel lower and more down. And that is very often as well because our resilience levels are low. So we need to, on those days in particular, take that opportunity wherever we can to just reset and to recharge ourselves so that we can get those resilience levels up and we can start facing and dealing with whatever comes our way. So, for those of you that are studying, how does self-care then help with better studies? So taking a bit of time out to care for yourself, how does that impact getting better marks on your assignments or being able to do your assignments sooner so that you have a little bit more time to yourself? So I just want to share this sort of process flow with you, and imagine that you take the decision today to take even 30 minutes out, and I'll just use exercise as my example, okay? But you take that 30 minutes out to engage in your self-care activity that you enjoy. And for me, it would be then possibly going for a nice walk. What immediately happens is you start to connect with yourself, you start to recharge, and you start to process the day. In that 30 minutes that I go for a walk or that I do go to the gym, I'm able to connect with myself. I become more aware of what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. I suddenly realize, oh goodness, I've had this headache all day and I didn't even realize it. I'm starting to recharge because I'm releasing those good hormones in my body, and I'm starting to process some of the things, that have happened, or some of the things that I still need to do. So it helps us to get a sense of control during that time as well, because we're not so distracted and we're not so busy trying to put out fires and trying to cope with everything that life has on its plate at that time. So we increase our energy levels, and therefore we increase our productivity. And therefore, when it comes to sitting down to actually engaging in our studies, we have the energy, the clear mind, and the focus to be able to study, to get the work done, to understand what we're trying to make sense of while we're studying. And certainly if we are, for example, writing an assignment, writing an essay, you will find that you have not only the energy, but the clearness of mind to even access some of those, some of that information that you've stored there at the back of your head, but you're not so exhausted that you can't even think of it and get it out. So it's a really simple process. And maybe you've done this. Maybe you're aware that this is what works for you. And again, I'm not saying you need to take up exercise, because yes, exercise is great for our physical health and our mental health. But I'm saying to you today, and I'm going to leave you with the challenge today, that you have to find what works for you. So if exercise works for me, taking a break to have a nice cup of herbal tea while I sit outside in the garden, while I listen to the birds in my garden, that works for me. It doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You have to find your thing, or a couple of things that you have that will help you to disconnect from the craziness of the world, to reconnect with yourself, to reset yourself, and then to increase your energy, increase that productivity so that you can perform better in your studies, even just, in your home life with the things that you need to get done. And of course, if you're working, it's going to help you perform better at work as well. And let's be honest, you wouldn't let this happen to your laptop or to your cell phone, all right? You wouldn't like your cell phone battery to die. Or if you are working or you are using a laptop to study, the worst thing that can happen is that battery on the laptop dies, because then you can't do what you need to do. Think of the times, which I'm sure are coming back soon again, but when we have load shedding, or for whatever reason, you don't have electricity, or you aren't able to plug in your phone or your laptop because you happen to be away from home, or, there is nowhere you can plug in and charge up. You would panic when that happens, right? You really would panic, because you feel like you're losing a limb when your laptop or your cell phone isn't available and isn't working. Yet we allow that to happen to ourselves. We let our batteries run so flat and so low that we have nothing left inside of us to give. We're not able to be productive. We're not able to do all the things that we need to do. And we certainly don't have the strength to cope with those stresses when they come our way. So why do we let it happen to ourselves? Why do we let our own batteries run low? Yet we take such care of our devices, our tablets, our iPads, our cell phones, and our laptops. We make sure that they're always charged. Goodness, and these days, is even some of us have watches that need to be charged all the time. Why do we allow that to happen to ourselves? And yet we take such good care of our devices. All right. Let me take a moment just to connect. Pumla, I just want to check with you. Is there anything in the chat? Anybody shared anything or asked any questions that we need to look at? Or we're still okay to keep going?
We're still okay for now. We do have a comment from Mamoduka Silacha, who says that one needs to be being honest with her emotions, and also is learning to remove herself from toxic environments.
Lovely. Well done. Wonderful to hear. Thank you for sharing that with us, and good to know and to hear that you're aware of what self-care means to you and some of the things you maybe need to be aware of to make sure that you're looking after yourself. So thank you for sharing that. So let's look a little bit then at the 8 dimensions of well-being and how you can then look at these different dimensions to identify areas that you need to engage in self-care and that you need to look after yourselves. So I want you to imagine that this is your life as a wheel, okay? All these dimensions put together like this pie or this pizza that you're seeing on the screen right now. In an ideal world, it would be perfectly round so that that wheel can keep turning nicely and smoothly, and it can keep going forward. How wonderful if we were on top of every area of our life, every area of our well-being, so that we had a perfect wheel. It doesn't really work like that, because there's always an area that unfortunately, for whatever reason, we are perhaps neglecting, or we're just not putting the time aside, or we're not aware that we need to start looking after that area of our lives. So these are the 8 dimensions of wellness. There's your occupational wellness, which of course relates to your work. But if you're not working, it could relate to your studies as well, because then you're a full-time student and that's your occupation at the moment. So we need to look after ourselves at work or in our studies. We need to have healthy relationships there. We need to feel a sense of fulfillment, a sense of purpose, a sense of satisfaction. And just now I'm going to share with you some ways that you could do that. There's environmental wellness as well, or well-being as well, which is crazy. We don't very often think about that. But as human beings, we are so connected to our environment, and we are, if we're not in a healthy environment, if we're not feeling safe, if we're maybe also not feeling connected to nature, it can seriously impact our sense of wellness. So I'm going to share some tips with you on that later. Intellectual wellness is separate from your work. And studies could probably fit a little bit into this dimension as well. But your intellectual well-being is what you do to stimulate yourself, to make sure that you are continually growing, developing, and learning as a person. Because if you're not, you're going to become stagnant. You're going to become bored. You're going to become frustrated. So intellectual well-being is so important. It's another thing that the brain needs. The brain needs to be stimulated. It needs to be challenged. And if it's not, even as we get older, that's when we're at risk of things like Alzheimer's and dementia, because our brain is not being looked after and it's not being stimulated. Another dimension is your spiritual well-being. For some individuals, religion will fit into this category. For those who aren't religious, you might feel more of a spirituality, and you certainly can have both, of course. So spirituality is also that sense of that there is something bigger and greater than me, but also my ability to connect with myself and to feel at peace with myself. So yeah, spirituality could be sometimes engaging, and connecting with nature. It can be connecting with ourselves through practices like meditation or yoga, or even just going for walks where we are being cognizant of what is around us, and where we're seeing, the beauty of the world around us and feeling that there is good in the world and that there is so much more to life than just us and maybe that problem or that struggle that we're going through at the time. Then emotional wellness. Emotional wellness is about feeling a range of emotions. It's not about never having bad emotions, or when I say bad, I should really put them, into quotation marks, because there isn't such a thing as a bad emotion. We need to feel a good range of emotions. That frustration, that anger, sadness, loneliness, whatever that negative emotion is, as well as the good emotions, joy, fulfillment, happiness, love, all of those good emotions. It's what we do with negative emotions that sometimes is the problem. When we become stuck in a negative emotion, or when we have or experience something like anger, and we release that anger, we respond to that anger in a bad way, like being violent or lashing out at somebody verbally and hurting their feelings, or bottling it up and not finding healthy ways to express it and to process it. That's when negative emotions are bad for us. Then physical wellness, of course, so important. It's so connected to our overall well-being. If we neglect to take care of ourselves physically, every area of our life is going to struggle. Especially if you're ill, you can't work, you can't study, you can't socialize with people, you can't be taking time out to look at yourself, or engage spiritually, because all you're focused on at that particular time is getting better, or lying in bed, taking your medication and sleeping. And of course, long-term physical ailments that can affect us as well, like let's say diabetes, because we're not looking after our overall physical wellness, not watching what we eat, what we nurture our bodies with, and we're not doing any form of exercise or movement, which our body so desperately needs to stay healthy. Then there's financial wellness as well. And I know some of you might, like me, be thinking right now, well, if I look at my bank account, I certainly am not I'm not financially well. That it's not about that. It's about how we take care of our finances. It's about what we do to manage a budget, to not over, spend on money, to get ourselves into debt. And I'm going to share a couple of tips with you there a little bit later, because of course, if we're not financially well, if we're feeling that we're in a bad place financially, it also impacts on so many areas of our lives because it causes such stress. And lastly, to share with you, of course, there's the social dimension of well-being, which is about our relationships. It's about our relationship with those, that we care about. It's family members, it's friends, it's those that are in your tribe or in your circle that help to fill your cup, that help you to feel valued, to feel loved, to feel appreciated, to be seen, and that are there to witness your life with you and maybe pick you up a little bit when you're struggling in other areas of your life. We are human beings and social beings, and connecting with others is such an important part of our well-being. Right, so moving on from there, how do we take care of ourselves in these different dimensions? And what I'm going to share with you here is also self-care tips. All right, so in every dimension of your life, here are some of my examples to share with you of how you could take care of yourself. So, social dimension, first thing you could do is spend time with friends and loved ones. It's going to fill your cup. It's going to help you to feel good, maybe have a good laugh, help you to feel connected, and sometimes just that person to lean on when you need them. Reaching out to others when you are feeling overwhelmed and stressed is so important, because they might just be able to share something with you that helps to pick you up, that helps to point you in the right direction of where you might need to get a little bit of support, or what resources are available for you. Also here, it's very important to set healthy boundaries in all your relationships, okay? So learning to be assertive, learning to say no when you need to say no, learning to stand up for yourself, learning to protect your rights and your feelings, all of that is about setting boundaries in your relationships. Another tip here, and it's also self-care, is resolving conflict as soon as you can. Conflict is natural. Arguing with somebody, having a different opinion is natural. It's again what you do about it and how you resolve that conflict to strengthen that relationship. That's important. And then look at how you can strengthen your communication skills so that you can have healthier relationships in your personal life and, of course, in your workplace as well. So maybe you need to be a little bit more open and share about yourselves. Maybe you do need to ask other people more questions and take an interest in them. But strengthening your communication skills are vital to help you take care of relationships, and in that way, you taking care of yourself. In the environment, what do we do to take care of our environmental dimension? Well, firstly, just spending time connecting with nature. It can be as basic as, taking a walk outside and just noticing how beautiful the sky looks today, or if the sun is setting, how beautiful the sunset looks. But connect with nature in whatever way you can. Do something for the environment. You could help clean up a park in your neighborhood. You could do recycling, even if it is just starting small and recycling glass or recycling plastic. There's so many opportunities to recycle these days. You could just plant something and watch it grow. It's a wonderful way of taking care of yourself and engaging in self-care, but also doing something for nature, planting something, whether it's a flower that might bloom, whether it's planting some healthy herbs or vegetables that you could eat. You can just plant something. Something as basic as feeding the birds could be wonderful. No matter where you live and what your home environment is, you can always put out some seed for some birds and watch what comes to eat and feel like you doing something for nature that fuels your cup and fills your cup and makes you feel good. And perhaps there are community projects around you that you could engage in as well. Something happening in the neighborhood, a soup kitchen, something that you could engage in and do some volunteer work. On the intellectual dimension, study a short course, challenge yourself. Maybe you already are, and that's why you're a student of Academy of York. But take a short course and challenge your brain, stimulate your brain. Read as much as you can. Not sitting on social media all the time, but reading. When last have you read a book? When last have you even, well, you can, of course, read something on a device as well, but read something that's interesting, that stimulates you, not just about celebrities and what they wore to the Met Gala. Then challenge yourself to complete a puzzle. It's a wonderful way to connect with yourself, to spend a little time with yourself, to disconnect from all the craziness of life, but to challenge your brain and stimulate your brain as well. When last have you built a puzzle? Do crossword puzzles. That's another way. Maybe taking on a puzzle's a little bit too much for you, but there's things like Sudoku. I can't seem to get a grasp of Sudoku, but I do enjoy word puzzles or word searches. And I find once I get going in one of those, it's so easy to lose myself and to feel my stress levels go down and just to disconnect from the world for a while. And then whatever you can think of, try something new, do something new, challenge yourself to cook a different meal tonight. Look at a recipe and challenge yourself to try that recipe out and learn something new. Right, then the spiritual dimension. Here's some examples of what you could do. You could meditate, you could take a walk in nature, see how you're even touching on different dimensions there, physical and the environment, and then your spiritual dimension as well. You can pray or engage in religious activities if you do follow your faith and if you are interested in your religion and want to engage in your religion, whatever religious activities work for you. A lot of people that come to me for counseling often share how they enjoy gospel music, and that helps them to connect on a spiritual level, and it helps them to connect with their religion and their faith as well. You could just do something for somebody else, give them a nice compliment, do a little act of kindness. It's a wonderful way to help you remember that there's so much more to the world than just you and what you are facing at this particular time. And then listen to music that speaks to your soul. Get up and dance a little bit as well. Move your body. There you're engaging in the physical dimension as well. But listen to music that fuels your soul and speaks to you. On an emotional dimension, you could try look a little bit more at work-life harmony, so trying to balance things a little bit more. Maybe sometimes you do need to say no and not overstretch yourselves. You could practice mindfulness, and mindfulness doesn't have to be meditation where you sit quietly and focus on breathing and connect yourself in the act of meditation. Mindfulness is something you can just practice consciously every day in some of the things that you do, like mindfully sitting and sipping a cup of coffee or tea, smelling the aroma, feeling that nice, warm beverage as it goes into your mouth, starting to feel what does it do for me while I'm drinking my cup of coffee. Being mindful while you're engaging in any activity, even going for a walk. What do you see? What do you notice? How are you feeling? Being mindful just means being in the present moment so that your mind isn't running 20 miles ahead of you and thinking of 5,000 other things, but it's focusing on what you are doing right now. Manage your stress levels, and I think everything I'm sharing with you today is actually helpful for managing stress as well. But what works for you in terms of lowering your stress? Acknowledge your emotions, whether they're good or bad, and then respond to them appropriately. All right, lashing out, kicking doors, throwing things, not a good way to manage those negative emotions. Maybe talking about them might be a healthier way, or writing about them in a journal and why are you feeling the way you're feeling, what triggered you. That can help you release those emotions and process them. And yes, try journaling. It's a very helpful way as well. Then the financial dimension. Here's a few tips that you could do to look after your finances. And of course, we could spend a whole day talking about this. But on the financial dimension, you could spend some time working on your finances, working out your debt, working out payment structures, working out a budget, and then learn to manage that accordingly. Communicate with others. If you are struggling to pay a bill, reach out to that credit provider or to that service provider to say, I'm having a difficult time financially. I'm not able to pay this. Is there a financial plan that we could look at? And even with Academy of York, when it comes to your studies, reach out to the team and tell them if you're not able to make a payment. Let them come up and help you with the payment plan so that you don't let that financial stress get to you. Another helpful tip is work out your hourly rate, right? So if you are working at the moment, take your salary for that month, divide it by the number of hours that you work, and figure out, what is that hourly rate? If you're being paid hourly, of course, it's easy for you to do that. But even if you're not working, imagine when you do get that job that you want, or if you are working towards a promotion, think about what is that hourly rate that you earn. And when you're spending, try to relate it back to how many hours are you spending? How many hours do you have to work to afford that nice pair of shoes, for example? And then remember, the more qualified you get, the more you're earning, or the more you're learning, the more you could be earning as well. On the physical dimension, I know I've already mentioned some here, but fuel your body with healthy foods, even when you are craving junk food. Look at what healthy foods you could put into your body to nourish your brain and to nourish your body. Get enough sleep, okay? The first thing you want to do, I know, when you're stressed and when you feel like you don't have enough hours in the day, is tap into that sleep, sleeping less hours, staying up late at night on social media. What happens? You oversleep the next day. You're exhausted when you wake up the next day. Your fuel tank is already low. Your battery is already low. And it's difficult to be productive, to focus, to study, to work, to be the best that you can be because you're already exhausted. So getting 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night is so, so, so important. It can really set the tone for your day, and it can put you on the back foot if you don't get it. Stay hydrated, so drink water. Your brain also needs water to function properly. So, even if you can't face water, if you're like me and you struggle with that, look at something like a herbal tea that you could drink to make sure you are getting that hydration into your body. Stretch and move. I'm not even putting here join a gym, run a marathon, swim 5Ks. If you enjoy that, of course, by all means do it. But just stretching and moving your body is so important. It gets that oxygen into your body, into your brain. It releases those happy hormones. It immediately helps you to start feeling better. And it's so good for your health. And take vitamins as well. Especially now as we go into winter, there's so many bugs around. Think about taking a vitamin C to help boost your immune system. Or if you really are feeling stressed, you could also take a vitamin B. Vitamin B is really good for helping us with our stress levels. But I love Oprah. I want to share this video with you where Oprah talks about taking care of herself.
The truth is, you don't have anything to give that you don't have. So you have to keep your own self full. That's your job. You know, one of my daughters is here today from Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy. Stand up today so everybody can see you. You're going to end your first year soon. Oh my God, it's first year. Um, I say to my girls all of the time that your real work is to figure out where your power base is and to work on the alignment of your personality, your gifts that you have to give with the real reason why you're here. That's the number one thing you have to do, is to work on yourself and to fill yourself up and keep your cup full. Keep yourself full. Now, I used to be afraid of that. I used to be afraid, particularly from people who say, oh, she's so full of herself. She's so full of herself. And now I embrace it. I consider it a compliment that I am full of myself. Because you only when you're full, I'm full, I'm overflowing, my cup runneth over. I have so much to offer and so much to give. And I am not afraid of honoring myself. You know, it's miraculous when you think about it. First of all, for me, my father and mother never married. They had sex one time underneath an oak tree because she was wearing a poodle skirt in 1953. And my dad, to this day, says, I want to know what's under that skirt. That's what I want to know. He wanted to know what was under the skirt. They didn't really have a relationship. She wanted one, but, you know, he went under the skirt and then that was it. And one time under the oak tree, bam, Renaissance.
Woman is born. It happened there.
That's why I know my life is bigger than that. My life has to be bigger, as yours is, bigger than a poodle skirt. It's much bigger. The design, the reason why I'm here is much bigger than, oh, I think I want to see what's under there. So the ability to take care of that, to honor yourself and that which is greater than yourself, that which was the reason for your being here. There's no selflessness in that. Because only through that do you have the ability to offer yourself, your whole self, your full expression of who you are to the rest of the world.
How lovely is that? You know, we owe it to ourselves, you know, to be full of ourselves. I love that. I really love that. And to not feel guilty, you know, to feel that it's an honor to be full of ourselves, because it's miraculous that we are here. We have a purpose. We're, you know, there is so much more to us and we have so much to give. But if we're not full of ourselves, we're empty and we have nothing to give to others. So I think that that's absolutely wonderful. So we're going to wrap up. I know time is always of the essence. We've got 5 minutes left together. But what are some of the ways then that you take care of yourself? Oh, and I'm a little bit scared to click on this now and freeze my PowerPoint again. So please, you know, if you can, pop it in the chat. But I want you to think, what are some of the favorite self-care activities that you engage in? Maybe from what I've shared with those different dimensions, you've suddenly thought, wow, yeah, I used to love going for walks, or I used to love feeding the birds, or I used to love doing a bit of gardening, or spending time with my friends is what fuels me and what keeps me going. What is it? You know, maybe it's nothing that I've even mentioned, but I want you to put an action plan in place today. All right, of how you're going to take care of yourself. And here are 4 easy steps to how you can do it. Firstly, I want you to recognize that it is smart to take care of yourself. It is not selfish. It is smart to do it. I want you to research what self-care means to you and what works for you. All right, so what it means to you means, you know, why is it important? What does it mean? So that it's intentional. And then what works for you. Recognize when you need to top up on self-care the most. So it's something you need to do all the time, but there are those days or there are those warning signs that our body sometimes gives us, or even our frame of mind gives us, that tells us, you know what, you need to step back a little bit and you need to engage in some self-care and start looking after yourself. Make your daily self-care actions part of your routine for those healthier habits. All right, so whatever it is you come up with, I want you to start practicing it regularly so that it becomes that healthy habit that you automatically turn to when you are going through something challenging, when you are stressed, when you are feeling down. And this slide is just a few examples if you really are struggling to think of it. You know, taking a warm bath, drinking some herbal tea, watching a show, because you don't want to binge watch and lose time and stress yourself out because you've fallen behind, but taking that bit of time out to watch your favorite show, going for a walk, putting on your most comfy PJs for the day, having a pajama day, joining a support group, meditating, if you can, spend some time reading. Maybe you do like to play games. Maybe you have a pet you need to cuddle. Maybe it's something like a lava lamp that you could watch. Maybe it is some sort of music. Maybe it's dancing a little bit, playing some sort of a game. He has a quick short video with, I don't know who this chap is. He's obviously a celebrity. So just a disclaimer, I have no idea who he is, but I liked his video with the short tips that he was sharing.
Today, I want to share with you guys 5 free ways that you can practice self-care on a weekly or daily basis. The first thing I like to do is go out and take a walk, whether it's to go capture some type of pictures or scenery around you or just to disconnect from anything going on. I think taking a walk is really important for your mental health. The second thing I love to do is read, whether it's for entertainment or educational purposes. Reading for me just brings a lot of peace and clarity to my life, so I go out and try to do that on a daily basis. The third thing that I like to do is take an Epsom salt bath at least 1 to 2 times a week, because working out is taxing on your body along with all the hours that you're working throughout the week. The fourth thing I love to do is yoga. We all know this. I practice this daily, and I advise you guys too to just reduce any inflammation inside of your body and reduce stress. The fifth thing is going to be cleaning up your social media. Make sure that you're following people that motivate you versus people who are putting out negative stuff all day, and I hope these tips help you guys.
All right, how lovely.
Today I want to share with you.
Whoops, sorry. Something like cleaning up your social media can be self-care, getting rid of that toxic and negative messages that you're picking up. So I'm just about done. Here's some more ideas. Find an engaging way or a creative way to express yourself, coloring in, drawing, sketching, painting, whatever. Practice deep breathing exercises to help you feel connected and clear your mind. Try journaling. Disconnect from technology. Maybe you need a break from your screen and from your devices for a while. Practice self-compassion. Forgive yourself when you make mistakes or when you're struggling or when you're not on top of your game, because you are only human. You are not a superhero and you don't have a cape. Try some aromatherapy. You know, those smells from aromatherapy can be very healing. It connects to our senses, obviously, of smell. It's lovely. Lavender's a really good one. I love the smell of vanilla. It immediately lifts my spirits. So yeah, smells can be really powerful. Use laughter and humor, whether it is that you watch something funny or you connect with one of your friends that has a witty sense of humor and helps you laugh and see the funny side of life. You can practice some muscle relaxations that can go along with the breathing, practice just sort of getting the shoulders stressed down and the tension in your shoulders down by just focusing and being mindful on them, maybe doing some stretching. And again, engaging in some volunteer work could be helpful as well. Finishing off, ask for help when you need it. Put yourself first sometimes. Don't always put everybody else in front of you. When you say yes to everybody else, you're saying no to yourself. Ask for help when you need it. Set those boundaries. Stay at home if you're too tired and you just don't want to be engaging with people, if you need to recharge your battery. Say no when you need to. Forgive yourself for mistakes. Take those step back when you need to just reconnect with yourself. Right. 60 minutes of self-care, how you could fit 60 minutes in a day. Spend 20 minutes outdoors. Do something creative like writing or reading or drawing for 20 minutes. Spend 10 minutes doing some sort of a movement. Take 5 minutes to check in with somebody else and take 5 minutes to reflect on some good things that have happened to you during the day. A lovely, easy way to fit in 60 minutes of self-care. Let go of the guilt. You don't need to feel guilty. I don't even think I need to share this with you because I've said to you right from the beginning, you don't have to feel guilty about investing in yourself and connecting with yourself and looking after yourself. Stop that negative self-care, negative self-talk, kick it in the butt. Remind yourself that you deserve care and you deserve compassion. And excuse me, remind yourself that when you engage in any kind of self-care, you are investing in yourself. And remind yourself that there are benefits to self-care. My homework challenge to you, what I'd like you to go away with, other than even putting that plan in place, I want you to think about all the ways that you can fill your cup, or the things you like enjoying that fills your cup or charges your battery. Maybe you could do this in a creative way. Go draw the mug. I think we could all draw a mug or trace a mug, even if we're not artists. And then I want you to do a little diagram and list all the things that fill your cup, that fuel your soul and recharge your battery. And keep that, all right, so that on the tough days you can remember those things that help you to feel better. And I'm going to end off with saying you are worth it. You always were, and you always will be. So take that time out to look after yourself. It is so important. All right, I know I've probably gone over time. Sorry, Pumla, 3 minutes over the hour. But I'll hand over to you just to wrap up. And if there's anything you'd like to share from Academy of York side.
Thank you so much, Carol. Before that, I'm just going to read a few comments. We've got Mamoduka who says self-care can also be gaining new skills and investing in lifelong learning to improve. I'm not scared to apply to higher positions. I can also express myself without fear, which I was struggling with previously. And since I joined you, I was a student. I've seen positive change in my life. I am struggling with organizing my financial status though.
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Mamuduka. And we've got Takasani who says, under environmental, I felt that there's a need for me to plant something, even if it could be a peri-peri tree. I'm enjoying this webinar. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful.
And Sandra says, self-care for me, it means walking 6 kilometers in less than 2 hours while enjoying fresh air. It means smiling at the mirror for no reason. I enjoy walking, cooking Portuguese dishes, smiling, and more.
Oh, lovely. Such lovely self-care. Thank you.
We've got so many other comments on self-care, but they are all on our comment section. Thank you so much, everyone, for engaging with us. We'd also like to inform you about our Refer a Friend program where you can refer somebody. If there's somebody that you know of that would like to study, you can refer them to the college. So the person that you have referred, they must not go onto the website to put on their details. They need to come to us from you. So you can send their details via your course coordinator or via your student advisor. And how it works is they will go through the normal process just like you did, where they are able to apply. Once the application has been approved and they've registered, you can either get 500 Rand in study credits. That means that the money is paid into your AOY account, or if you have paid your account in full with AOY, you then get 500 Rand in cash that is paid into your personal banking account.
Lovely. There's some self-care on the financial side.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Awesome. Thank you, Pumla. Thank you for sharing that. I think so important and such a wonderful program that Academy of York offers to you all. So I'm going to finish off. Sorry that I've pinched some time. Thank you for those who have hung on. Just to remind you of our next Wisdom Wednesday. It's going to be on the 19th of June. And we're going to be looking a little bit more on some study skills there. So connecting with some of those, as we would say, hard skills to help you through your study journey. We'll be looking at effective reading, learning, and studying techniques that suit you. So join us again on the 19th of June from 11 to 12. And Pumla and I will be here to continue your study journey and support you. But in the meantime, I challenge you, go do that self-care. Go carve out those few minutes for you, use what works for you, and remember, you are worth it. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you so
Pumla.
much. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone. Look after yourselves. Thank you.
Bye, Carol. Bye, Pumla.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Carol. Bye, Pumla.
Bye-bye. See you soon.
Bye, Carol.
Bye to everyone.